Very good morning. We are back to the course CH22036 First Aid and Safety Precautions. This course has two parts, as I told you many number of times. We are in the unit 4, which has two parts. One is emergency response procedure, other one is personal protective equipments and hazards. That will be the part 2. So when you see these two segregations, first part is almost over. In that we have done 4 videos. First video was activation of emergency response systems. ERS, activation of emergency response system. And it is closely associated with one more topic, that is evacuation procedure. Both are more or less same. During emergencies, we may have to evacuate the people. So evacuation procedure has been dealt separately. And I have done a separate video for this second topic. Then the third one is, for doing these two things, communication plays a vital role. So that has been given here, communication protocols during emergency situations. That is what we see here. Then again, to do all these things, we need a first aider. Role of first aider in the in emergency situations, how your first aider should behave and how he should, what is his role and how he is supposed to do it. All the 4 topics have been exclusively done for the first part of this unit 4. Now we are with the fifth topic, which is selection and proper use of personal protective equipments in process industries. This fifth topic will be the first topic in the part 2. So portion of it I have done it in the earlier classes. Now I am going to do the part 2 of this. Today in this video, I will be completing this selection and proper use of PPE in process industries. And there will be 2 more videos which will be importance of PPE in preventing injuries. That will be discussed. And the last topic is exposure of hazardous material. That will be discussed. That's about the unit 4. Let us go to the. So I don't want to reveal anything information about the topics which has dealt in the part 1. Part 1 is over. Now we are with the part 2. Activation of ERS, all these things have been discussed. And what about this DRAB, AVPU scale, all these things we have seen. Then what is AED, what is CPR, all these things have been very clearly seen. Then again, workplace emergency response activation. Like that we have been doing emergency control center, which will come only during emergencies. Then again, this reporting and follow-up. And we had a very good example for the ERS, emergency response system, that has not activated in bhopal gas tragedy. So that's why we have so much of fatality and so much of consequences. This emergency was not working for quite some time. That is why so much of problem at bhopal gas tragedy at Union Carbide. Then comes evacuation procedure. In that we have pre-emergency planning and preparedness. Same thing will have same kind of subtopics will be there for the unit. For the third topic, communication. Follow on was during an emergency. Then next is post evacuation procedures. Last one is external agency involvement and important considerations. We had a case study from Japan that was also discussed. Then we went into the communication protocols during an emergency situation. That was discussed. As I told you, this is pre-emergency planning for communication. And then during communication. Next we had communication during an emergency. The same thing what we did in the earlier one was same similar way we do it. Here also like evacuation procedure. The next is post external communication. Next we had post emergency communications. That is also important. After the emergency, how we have to take back the plant when it comes to normal situation. It is not just like that you started. You have some procedures. That is when being given here in the post emergency communications. Then key principles of emergency communications. Then we had a case study. That is the case study very clearly indicates how the importance of communication has been discussed. Then we had the last topic, role of the first aider in process industries. That has been discussed. How a first aider should behave when an emergency is there. Definition and importance of first aider. Aim of first aid. Key responsibilities and action of a first aider. And we had so many first aiding conditions, managing physical conditions. One was unconsciousness, shock, fracture, burn, hypoxia, head injuries, spinal injuries, seizures. All these things have been discussed in detail. Then comes providing reassurance and monitoring. And we should also know when to call the emergencies. Then workplace first aiders. Then we had what should be there in the first aid kit. Reporting first aid incidents. Then we had types of first aid training. There's a training without emergency and with emergency. Emergency first aid at work and first aid at work just. Then again, pediatric first aid, mental health first aid. These are the four types of first aid trainings we used to get. Then we have concluded along with a case study. Now we are to the selection and proper use of PPE in process industries. This has been done as two part. Already I have given a video of 7 minutes. Now we are following or completing this topic. This topic is the first topic in the part 2. How we select and how we properly utilize and make use of the PPEs. As I told you earlier, this PPE play a crucial role in providing an additional layer of protection. That is, when other measures are insufficient, when other measures fails, we need a one more protection, that will be this PPE, which is a supplementary precaution that we will be discussing now. How we identify the hazards in process industries. There are 5 types of hazards. So, 6 types of hazards. Let us list one by one. The first one is chemical release, fire and explosion, mechanical hazard, work at height hazard, electrical hazard, ergonomic hazard. These are the 6 types of hazard which we see. For this, we need how an PPE to be selected, how effectively we have to use the PPE when there is an emergency. Chemical release is a primary damage including gas leak, oil spill, and toxic fumes from equipment failure, human error, or natural disaster. This exposure can lead to poisoning, and it becomes, or it makes the public unconsciousness, or it makes them irritated, it makes them burn, it can give them eye injuries, all these things. That is what has happened at Union Carbide. So much of methyl isocyanate got leak and it went to spread across the entire Bhopal or the entire region. So much affected. That's about the chemical release. Then we had fire and explosion. That was the next topic, fire and explosion. Fire and explosion, all of us are very much aware. It's a fire, there is significant physical hazard, and how the industry is supposed to operate. That has been a fire and explosion, both. That is, in petrochemical industries, it's a very common problem, fire and explosions. So we may have come across, even though in other industries also we may come across these kind of fire and explosions, but you should know how to tackle them. Then comes mechanical hazard. Mechanical hazard, when most of them are machineries. When machineries are crush injuries, amputation, fracture, laceration. These are all some kind of injuries we get from the moving machineries. And workplace transport. Then comes work at height. We will not be able to work at all at the ground level. We may have to climb up more than the ground level so that the emergency is very high there. That we discuss. Then comes electrical hazard and ergonomic hazard. These are the last two topics. Then we had high noise level. Then comes inadequate thermal environment, handling hazardous material. These were there. So everything has been discussed one by one, process hazard analysis. And we keep on travel in the same lines and we try to complete it. So let me tell you about this PHA and then get into the part 2. This unit has been done. A 7-minute video has been already done. Now we are with the part 2 of the same topic. That is selection of the PPE materials. Study and selection of the PPE materials. Personal protective equipment are the material which we use to prevent ourselves from the accidents. Like helmet, shoes, leather shoes, jacket. All these things prevent. It's an additional layer of protection. A thorough process analysis is a systematic method. A thorough process hazard analysis, PHA, is a systematic method for identifying and evaluating the potential hazards. That is very, very important. How we do with the potential hazards? Go with the employer must also carry the first aid assessments to understand the hazard and the risk at the workplaces. Collecting existing information about the workplace hazard, such as safety data sheet. Yes, that's a data sheet very clearly gives us the information about each and every chemicals. For chemicals, equipment. Equipment manual is also very, very important. So the equipment manual very clearly says how to operate or how to go with. Incident reports. When something untoward things happens, we have to report them as an incident. You should also account the fatality, casualty, everything you should account. You cannot exclude anything. All these things also you have to record and keep it. That is very important. Keep it as a quality industry. Then comes incident report and input from the workers is a crucial first step. So they should be able to clearly explain us what has happened there and how it has taken up the shape there. That is what. Then comes the high noise levels, inadequate thermal environment, when it is too hot, when it is too cold, all these things, inadequate thermal environment, handling hazardous material. We have a risk associated with the storage, risk associated with the handling, risk associated with the loading, risk associated with the unloading, a risk associated with including exposure, risk associated with the leakage, fire, and explosion. These are things there. A thorough process analysis is a systematic method that clearly puts us a systematic method for identifying and evaluating these potentials. These potentials are employer must also carry out a first aid need assessment to understand the hazard and risk of the workplace, collecting existing. That's about this. PHA is a systematic method for identifying and evaluating the hazards which is happening in the process industries. Employers must also carry out a first aid assessment. Periodically, they have to assess and ensure the plant is safe. First aid assessment to understand the hazards and the risk of the workplace. Collecting existing information about the workplace hazard, such as safety data sheet for chemicals, equipment manuals, incident report, input from workers, which is a very crucial point. Then comes the role of PPE in hazard control. That will be the third subtopic of our topic study and the importance of the PPE. The role of PPE will be the next topic. Selection of appropriate PPE. Follow on is proper use of PPE, maintenance and inspection of PPE, legal and regulatory committees. Then comes conclusion. We also have a case study. What are the PPE in preventing injuries? Let me get into it one by one. The role of PPE in hazard control. So we had 5 subtopics. Out of that, in this part 2, this role of PPE will be discussed in detail. This role of PPE depends upon PPE for eye, PPE for hand, PPE for body. Different things. PPE, as told in the beginning itself, which acts as an additional. Okay, existing some damages will happen. This is an additional extra protection. So the PPE acts as a barrier between the worker and the hazard. This minimize the risk of injury or illness. It is considering the last line of defense after engineering. It is also considered as the last line of engineering. This PPE act as a barrier between the worker and the hazard, reducing the risk of injury or illness. It is considered the last line of defense after engineering and administrative controls have been implemented. The sources, the various sources of PPE, the various types of PPE and the various locations where we need PPE has been discussed in detail, which is used. First, we all know Aimbulangal. Out of that, eye becomes the predominant one important. When you have a goggle over eye, it will easily protect the eyes. So safety goggles used to be there. Tiger rubber goggles. That is what tiger rubber goggles, welders hand shield, and welding helmets. Plastic face shield are used to prevent eye injuries from mechanical impact and chemical splashes. Then we used to have eye wash foundations, that is eye wash stations. It is also there throughout the plant. When you pull it, the water gushes to the eyes and then it protects the eyes. That is what is there. Next comes hand protection. Hand being the limb, which is predominantly used everywhere. Disposable gloves. We used to have nitrile for latex allergies. So disposable gloves used to be used for petty works and for hard things and other things we used to have much more rubber gloves, latex gloves, all these things we used to have. Then also we used to have for electrical also we used to have leather gloves. Rubber gloves are essential when handling chemicals and hazardous material. Yes, very much we need a rubber gloves to handle the chemicals and to handle the hazardous materials. Body protection. Rubber aprons and other protective clothing minimize the risk of exposure to chemicals and as well as other hazards. That's about the basic things which we do it. Next follow on is foot protection. Foot protection we all know we have to wear leather shoes or protective shoes. Shoes with non-skid soles and safety shoes with the toe protection. Gum boots are necessary in areas with mechanical or slip hazards. So in these locations you have to use these kind of boots. Then follow on is head protection. How do you protect the head? Helmet very well protects the head, but you should know what type of helmet. How head protection. Safety helmets are crucial in the areas with a risk of head injury from falling objects or work at height. Either you then comes after the head protection, we used to have respiratory protections. Nose mask are mentioned for dust and particle exposure during material handling. Online carbon dioxide monitors may also be used in the areas where there is a high risk of incomplete combustion. So this mask, face mask or the nose mask, very well support us and help us in preventing it. The last one is hearing protection. How do you protect the ear? Only to certain decibel we will be able to conveniently hear or listen. When the decibel increases to high level, normally it becomes a very big threat for the eye. It's a chronic problem. It's not an acute problem. It's a chronic problem. Years together it goes. Suddenly you will also become deaf. So that is why hearing protection. Ear plugs, ear muffs are required in high noise environment to protect your eyes, nose. Sorry, not nose, ears. To protect your hearing loss. To prevent your hearing loss. To protect the ears. To prevent the hearing loss. We have to protect the ears. First, we start the hearing protection. Follow on will be selection of appropriate PPE becomes the next topic. In this subtopic, selection of the correct PPE becomes a very important one. Selection of correct PPE is a critical for ensuring its effectiveness. The selection process based on thorough understanding of the hazard and the limitations of the PPE. Both we have to see. We should be able to understand the hazard nature which is prevailing in the ambience, and you should also know the limitations of PPE. We cannot completely protect everything and each and everything. It's not a PPE. We don't have so developed PPEs for protecting each and everything there. So some things will get it. So out of that, we can take the best and then we can start protecting ourselves. Consider this were key considerations for PPE selection. That will be the in that we come into the key considerations for PPE selections. Number one is hazard assessment, material compatibility, fit and comfort, task requirement, regulatory requirement, risk rating, or the 5 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 6. These are the points we used to consider when you select an appropriate PPE hazard assessment. The type and severity of the hazard dictate the required level of protection. For instance, handling corrosive chemicals require different glove material than handling abrasive materials. Material compatibility when dealing with the chemicals ensure the PPE material is resistant to degradation by the specific chemicals involved. This is SDS. SDS, I tell you know what is SDS. SDS provide information on recommended PPEs for handling specific substances. Out of six, now we are with the third topic fit and comfort. PPE must fit the individual worker properly to provide the intended protection and encourage consistent use. And PPE, the fitting the PPE can be uncomfortable. High level fitting PPE can be uncomfortable, hindered movement, potentially leading into being removed or used improperly. That is the fit and comfort the place. Next comes task requirement. The selected PPE should allow the worker the PPE which may should allow the worker to perform the task safely and efficiently without undue restrictions of movement or vision. There should not be any undue restrictions of movement as well as the vision. Regulatory requirement. The PPE should comply with the relevant safety and health regulations and standards which are prescribed by BAS, Bureau of Indian Standards, which is mandatory. The last one is risk rating. The level of risk associated with the hazard, whether it is a major, minor, high, medium, low, whatever it is, can influence the type and stringency of the required PPE. Acts this risk rating will also induce and support you. Out of six, these are the rest four. Fit and comfort. PPE must fit the individual. Suppose a person is having a medium, he cannot be given a large portion or short, small portion. He should be given the appropriate fittings, which is very, very essential to protect them and encourage them to consistently use. If it is so loose or if it is so tight, they may not be comfortable in wearing the shoes, they may not be comfortable in wearing the helmet, they may not be comfortable in wearing the jackets. So the size should also be appropriate. So entering movement and potentially leading into a that is what even it is not of one size, certainly it will be an hindering for them and it may not be protecting them also. So it should be removed or used improperly. So it is not to use improperly. Task selected PPE should allow the worker to perform the task. So because of wearing this PPE, they should not be allowed to perform the task. They should be able to perform the task safely and efficiently without undue restrictions. Undue restrictions. We should not have any kind of conditional relaxations. It should be undue restriction, and which is not only restriction of movement or vision. Then comes regulatory requirement, compliance with the relevant standards. That the standard is measured with the support of BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, ISS, ASTM, like that. Standard quality things only we should use. We cannot use risk rating. The level of risk rating can be high level, medium level, major, minor, like that. There are so many type of hazards which can hazard level or the risk level which are associated with the hazard. And the requirement of the PPE is also very clearly stressed there. Proper use of PPE. We should be also be trained and we should also make them to use the PPE appropriately. Even the most appropriate PPE will not be effective if it is not used correctly. Proper use involves several key aspects. What are all the key aspects? So let us see there. So how effectively we can use the PPE with the available PPE, we should also be able to utilize it properly. That is, a proper word is very, very important. Even though we have shoes and we have the helmet and other things, but they should be you handled appropriately and properly. So let us see all these five. First is training. All worker must receive a thorough training for the proper use of the PPE. Donning, doping, limitations, and maintenance of PPE. They are required to use. So it cannot be, we should keep on looking at it. Training should cover why the PPE is necessary, how to use it correctly, or when to use it, and what is the limitations. So it applicables for shoes, helmet, everything, gloves, everything. That is unsize things certainly will not be useful to you. So training is very, very essential for you to make a choice and you should be able to understand the risk involved there. You cannot have just like that. It's a process industry. High level of risk is there. Then comes fit check. For certain types of PPE, such as respirators, proper fit is very, very essential. So you should be able to check the fitness. So something is getting locked means you should see to it whether it is properly locked and whether there is no any leak. Workers should perform fit checks each time they don't lead the equipment to fail. Or it's to ensure a tight seal. The equipment should ensure a tight seal. We should be able to comfortably give them the person that is completely sealed and the place is very much safe for you to work. Then come consistent use. It should also, when you give first time or nth time, the same result should come. PPE must be sworn consistently and correctly whenever there is a potential exposure to the identified hazard. So PPE to be always be wear and at the same time the it does not be wear and tear or something that should not be there and it should be able to perform its job. So that is what we say it is consistent use. PPE must be sworn consistently. So there is no relaxation for coming out without PPE. So every time within the industry you have to wear the PPE. Working alone. Special consideration should be given to alone workers, ensuring that they have appropriate PPE and communication systems. So when people are working alone also, they should be given the proper considerations and they should be also be encouraged to wear the PPE. They should also wear appropriate PPEs and that should also be weared properly. At the same time, we should give them a special considerations when they serve alone in the segment. That's all. That's also maintenance and inspection of PPE. Maintenance and inspection of PPE deals with these 4 points. We started with 6 point, 5 point, 4 point. So the early topics comes with it. We can see selection of PPE comes with 6 points. Selection of PPE. Selection of PPE is covered with 6 points. Then maintenance is with 4 points. We have seen the proper use of PPE, 5 points. Maintenance and inspection of PPE, 4 points. Let us see the 4 points and then get into the last but one subtopic. Regular inspection. Regular maintenance and inspections are very, very crucial to ensure that the PPE remains in good condition, good working order, and good working condition, and provides the intended level of protection. Expected level of protection has been very clearly provided by the PPE. The key aspects include the following 4 points. Regular maintenance and inspections. Yes, regularly you have to maintain, regularly you have to inspect and see to it the equipment is functioning properly and the purpose is being served. So all this at the same time you have to wear properly. At the same time, the equipment should serve the purpose. Regular inspections. PPE should be inspected before each and every use for any sign of damage or very any wear and malfunctioning. So sometimes that will itself will lead to accidents. So PPE should be very clearly seen. The next comes cleaning and storage. That is, PPE should be cleaned accordingly to the manufacturer instructions and stored properly when not in use. Or when there is no, it should be, there should not be any damage or contaminations. You have to prevent the damage and the contaminations. So when it is not being used, you have to store them properly. You have to cover them with the cover and see to it nothing, no dust, nothing enters into the PPE. So you should make it cleaning and storage. That should be clearly cleaned, regularly cleaned, and make ourselves comfortable to wear. Next is repairing and replacement. Damaged or worn out PPEs must be repaired and replaced immediately. As far as PPE is concerned, when there is a repair, that should be done immediately. We cannot defer to the next day. So, since it's a PPE, there should be a clear procedure for reporting and addressing the issues related with the PPE. When some PPE is not working, or when some PPE is broken, or when something is not happening, immediately you have to report it. You have to report to the top leader with the copy mark to the individual. Record keeping, the repair and replacement record keeping. As I told you, record keeping will be the very important. Maintenance records of PPE inspections, maintenance, replacements can help them to track the condition of the PPE and ensure timely replacements, timely interventions. If something is not happening there, immediately we cannot manage this thing shows. Immediately you have to take action. That is why it has been stressed. Okay. Next comes conclusion. Legal and regulatory considerations. Yes, legal considerations are also very important. Employers have a legal responsibility to provide a safe work environment. Yes, it is the responsibility of the employer to provide a safe working environment for each and every employee. Next comes, which includes the provision and use of appropriate PPE. And use of PPE is also very important, and you should also appropriately use it. And something is given for hand, you cannot tie it in the head. And something is given for head, and you cannot tie them in the hand. So it should be properly utilized. It does not be any fun at all. Employers have a legal responsibility to provide a safe working environment, which includes the provision and use of appropriate PPE. Failure to do so can result in legal action such as fines and penalties. Regulations like the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemicals Rules 1989, that is the continuation of MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. Manufacturer, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemical Rule. There's a rule there. Highlight the importance of PPE requirements. They always stress the requirement of PPE. Manufacture, storage, and import of hazardous chemical rule 989. In the context of MSDS, highlight the importance of PPE. Highlight the importance of PPE. When handling hazardous chemical, employer should be aware with all the chemicals used in the factory. If there is any risk, you have to take it suitably. Then comes conclusion. The selection and proper use of PPE are integral components of the comprehensive safety program in process industries. By thoroughly identifying hazards, selecting appropriate PPE based on risk assessment and material compatibility, ensuring proper training Selection and proper use of PPE are very much they are both are hand in hand integral components of a comprehensive safety program in process industries by thoroughly identifying the hazard, selecting appropriate PPE based on the risk assessment, material compatibility, ensuring proper training and consistent use, which makes them to effectively utilize it and then see to it there's no accidents rise out of this PPE. There was a case study, Deepwater Horizon oil spill at USA. Worker dealing with oil spill cleanup were exposed to toxic chemicals. Those using improper PPE recorded severe health issues. So when a person is coming through any kind of maintenance job or something, workers dealing with oil spill cleanup were exposed to toxic chemicals. So those chemicals gave them the health issues. There's a lesson from this case study. Choosing and PPE. Choosing the correct PPE based on the risk assessment is essential and to protect the workers' health. That is what the lesson we have learned from this case study. We have to use appropriate PPE, correct PPE based on the risk. You should be able to assess the risk. From the risk, you have to evaluate and keep it. This is the one very essential for us to protect the. Yeah, with this, I'm closing it. So, this.